You've done everything right: the strategy, the offers, the networking, and even the pivots. Yet something keeps stopping you right before you get to the next level. You keep hitting that same invisible wall and you can't figure out why. I want to tell you today something that no one is talking about in the strategy space. The ceiling you keep hitting, that wall that you keep coming up against, is not a strategy problem, it's an identity problem. And until your identity shifts, your results can't. You know what stuck looks like for a high capacity leader? It's subtle. It's not failure, but it's almost. It's almost landing the big client. It's almost pitching yourself for that speaking opportunity. It's almost breakthrough. It's scrolling through someone else's content saying to yourself, man, why isn't anybody listening to me? I can do that and maybe even better. It's preparing for an opportunity and then shrinking once the opportunity shows up. That's not a strategy gap, friends. That's an identity gap because you can't perform your way past what you don't believe about yourself. Let me say that again. You can't perform your way past what you believe about yourself. You can't market your way to the next level if the version of you doing the marketing doesn't match the level that you're trying to reach. So let's talk about it. Let's talk about the three identity gaps I see most in high capacity leaders and why each one creates a ceiling. Now, as I'm talking about these gaps, I want you to really think about where you are right now because we cannot address what is still hidden in the dark. So, as you are identifying if your identity gap one, two, or three, I don't want you to get into like self loathing or condemnation. This is just data. This is an opportunity to say, oh, now that I know, I can do something about what I know. I know a lot of times with the high capacity leaders that I get an opportunity to work with, they just need language to understand what's going on. And so I'm hoping by identifying these three areas that we will give you language about what is happening. So, identity gap number one is you've outgrown your own story. The story you keep telling about yourself, even silently to yourself, is the story of who you were and not who you are. That's really big. You're still introducing yourself with old titles, old wins, and old chapters. But the market can't see the leader you've become because you haven't fully stepped into that identity yourself. Now, we talk about this a lot here on Visibility is Power TV. It's these 5 levels of visibility. And if you hadn't had an opportunity, I really want to encourage you to make sure and go check out that video because I break down each one of those levels. With this identity gap, this is where we get on ladder or step two of the 5 visibility levels. And this is where we get into being seen by yourself. And this is where most leaders get stuck because you can't recognize this version of yourself that you haven't claimed. There's something really powerful when you're able to see you. And when you're able to see you, you now can be seen by community, by your industry, and by the world. But you got to see you first. You have to identify your gifts, your talents, your strengths, and yes, even the things that you're still working on first. You have to claim that. Identity gap number two is your position and your identity don't match. I see this a lot. Here's the truth that you don't probably hear enough. You can't go any higher than your identity. You really can't. Your position, the level of influence, income, impact that you are operating at right now will always be a reflection of how you see yourself. I remember a coach telling me one time that whatever your price number is, whether it's 500 or 10,000, right? Just using those numbers, that goes back to identity. Your number has to be your number. And now I tell my clients the same thing, right? It goes back to identity, believing that I deserve to be not only seen, heard, and paid. So if your when your identity is small, Your decisions are small. Your asks are small. Your presence is small. You shrink. But when your identity expands, so does your position. It expands with it. This is why you can have two people with the same credentials, but they don't get the same opportunities. One of them believes they belong in the room. The other one is trying to talk themselves into believing that they belong there. The two aren't the same. Identity gap number three, you're waiting for permission you've already been given. This is a doozy. Here's what I need you to understand. And this is where we're getting into a faith angle, and I don't want to shy away from this. Many purpose driven leaders are waiting to be discovered, validated, or invited when the assignment was already placed on their lives. I'm going to give you a practical example. Before I was ever the Rose Show Live to people or the Rose Show Live experience, I was the Rose Show Live here, here with me and with God. Before anyone ever gave me an opportunity to speak on stages, and now I'm a speaker and I'm MC and I do keynoting. Before I ever did any of that, I built my own platform doing what? Video just like this. Because I wasn't waiting for someone to give me permission to say, here, I'm going to give you our stage, Rashonda, or here, I'm going to give you an opportunity to do this. I wrote my own permission slip. And I want to encourage you to do the same if you haven't done this, to write your own permission slip. This goes back to level one on the 5 levels of visibility, being affirmed by God. Your foundation isn't external. It isn't external approval. It's internal conviction. Ooh, let me say that again. Everything that you're trying to get permission for first comes being affirmed by God and having not external approval, because I don't know if you realize people are fickle. It's about internal conviction. It's about understanding that I've been called to this and I've been given an assignment. And so the ceiling isn't above you, it's within you. And it lifts the moment you start waiting for permission and start operating from purpose. My friend Jade Simmons says, purpose is not what you do, it's what happens in others when you do what you do. Friend, you need to start paying attention to what happens in others when you show up in your purpose and do what you do. See, strategy is a tool, but identity is the hand holding the tool. So, here's what we like to do always. I love to give you something tangible that you can take away and make some movements. Yes, you have homework. I want you to write down the answer to this question. Who is the version of me that's already operating at the next level? Who is the version of me that's already operating at the next level? Not what you need to learn, not what you need to build or who you need to be, because for many of us, you just need to be what you already be. I know that doesn't sound grammatically correct, but just go with me here. And describe that leader, describe that person. What do they believe about themselves? How do they walk in a room? How do they talk about what they do? That's so important. Start closing the gap now between that version of you and the one showing up today. Identity isn't a destination, friends. It's a practice. It starts with what you're willing to claim and what you're willing to claim now. As always, if this resonated with you, I want you to do 2 things for me. Number 1, I want you to share or tag another leader who needs this same framework or to be able to identify the gaps in their own visible leadership and their own visibility journey. And number 2, if you haven't already done so, make sure to hit that subscribe button. That way you get notifications every time we drop new content. Listen, visibility without a strategy is just noise, but strategic visibility, that's power, friend. Thank you for watching, and I'll see you next time.